All right, good afternoon to you viewers and welcome to this week's edition of RT Speaks. I'm your host, Cleon Halley.
And I'm your hostess, Tabitha Sarabo.
And we have a very interactive program for you today. We do hope that you're home sitting back, relaxing, and as the sun unwinds, you are ready to participate in our discussion today as we look at the development of sport. But before we get into that, as you know, we have several segments to our show, and we always start off with this day in history. So I'll hand you over to Tabitha, who will share with us today's take on this day in history.
Okay, good afternoon again. Now, today is the 24th of April, so I had to do a lot of digging to find something that sort of matches this particular date. But I was able to. On April 24th in 1870, Charles Barrington Brown, one of the two British geologists appointed government surveyors to the colony of British Guiana, now Guyana, became the first European to see Kaieteur Falls. Before we would say that they discovered Kaieteur Falls, but we have understood that would not be quite true because there were persons here before the British came. But they were the first Europeans to actually see Kaieteur Falls. The other surveyor, who was James Sawkins, Brown and James Sawkins arrived in Georgetown in 1867 and did some of their mapping and preparation of geological reports together, some in separate expeditions. But Sawkins had taken a break from his work when Brown came upon Kaieteur. So you know what that means. The man went down in history because he didn't stop, right? He didn't take a break, but he continued to do the work while the other was on a break. So what that means is you don't take breaks. Like if it is that you're interested in accomplishing something, accomplish it so that somebody else don't get to say that I did it before you. So Kaieteur Falls is the world's widest single drop waterfall, as we know, located on the Potaro River in the Kaieteur National Park, Essequibo. Its location is in the Amazon forest. It is 226 meters or 741 feet high when measured from its plunge over a sandstone and conglomerate cliff to the first break. It then flows over a series of steep cascades that, when included in the measurements, bring the total height to 251 meters or 822 feet. While many falls have greater height, few have the combination of height and water volume, and Kaieteur is among the most powerful waterfalls in the world, with an average flow rate of 663 cubic meters per second or 23,400 cubic feet per second. Kaieteur Falls is about 4 times higher than the Niagara Falls on the border between Canada and the United States, and about twice the height of the Victoria Falls on the border of Zambia and Zimbabwe in Africa. It is a single drop waterfall. Upriver from the falls, the Potaro Plateau stretches out to the distant escarpment of the Pacaraima Mountains. The Potaro River empties into the Essequibo River, which is one of the longest and widest rivers in South America. At the time of discovery, Brown did not have time to investigate Kaieteur Falls closer, and he returned here 1 year later when measurements of the waterfall were made. According to a Patamona Indian legend, Kaieteur Falls was named for Kai, a chief, or Tashau, who acted to save his people by paddling over the falls in an act of self-sacrifice to Makanaimo, the Great Spirit. Another legend, though, was told to Brown by Amerindians in the night of discovery of falls. Kaieteur has been named after an unpleasant old man who was placed in a boat and shoved in the falls by his relatives. Thus the fall was named Kaieteur, what means Old Man Falls. So we have two different legends as it relates to the naming of the Kaieteur Falls, but we know it today as Kaieteur. Right? Thank you very much to the Awi 50, that's where I got this information from. So that is our session today on this day in history.
And as you know, parents, we encourage you to have your children sit and listen to this segment, especially because it's a way of educating and informing them about something that happened on the day in question, but in history. And it also helps us as Guyanese to understand Guyanese history, because We will only be sharing Guyanese history. We will try our best to ensure that we can find something every day that we can come on to the show. Yeah, I encourage you, when we're back here again, have your children sit, take notes, so that we all can learn about our history and be proud Guyanese as we move forward. So moving along in show today, our next segment that we have lined up is our Youth in Action segment, where we would normally interview a young person or group who are into community development or youth development activities, and you get to hear from them. You get to hear what they're doing and how is it that you can come on board and assist. So today we're going to prepare now to go into that interview with Royston Alkins, who is from the Exercise organization. So let's prepare for that interview.
All right, thanks, Cleon and Tabitha. Well, today for Man in the Street for Majority Speaks, we're going to be finding out how persons feel about sports development in Guyana and how the development of sports in Guyana can aid in the development of young people. So let's move to our first.
First, the sports will be beneficial to our youth in Guyana. They will decentralize and go into other regions. But there are many talented people out there in the region, especially youth, and there is no facility for them. So because of not having facility for different sports like boxing, cricket, football, running, swimming, the youth start to drugs, suicide, social disease. But they need to decentralize everything. So when the youth are participating in different activities that represent our country, it's positive for us.
Well, for me personally, as a footballer, I just live on the East Coast, and I think more sports development needs to be placed on young people, because we as young people don't get as much opportunity right now to participate in sports, because they might get like a one thing and then they might get back nothing until next year. So I think is that more emphasis needs to be placed on getting young people involved in sports at a young age, whether it be football, cricket, basketball, whatever, and develop programs so that sports can continue to grow instead of just being a one time a year, two time a year kind of event. Yeah.
Okay, so my take on sports in Guyana would definitely be a positive thing, because I strongly believe that I think more recreational activities as a whole is great for this country, so that, you know, young people would be more open up and they would be prone to certain things instead of violence and, you know, doing all the wrong things. So for me, I am not a sports enthusiast, but I strongly believe that there's so many things that can be done for the youth, and sports is definitely one. I mean, there's so many different sports companies that should have like free activities for kids, which would be awesome, you know, especially recreational activities after school activities.
Sports is a major outlet for young people, both males and females, to express who they are, and if that can be incorporated into schools or into the curriculum as a whole, I think students will better be able to have, you know, just something to do other than engaging in sexual activities, and just finding themselves in the wrong crowd, drugs and all of these other things. So yeah, that's my bit.
Me, I don't think enough is being done based on the fact that there is still a lot of young people lining at street corners, and if there was some form of intervention that could have taken them away from the corner, it would have had to be sports. And so once sports is broad-based throughout the country, then we will have less lineouts. I think the sports program needs to start from the school system, from nursery to university.
The development of sports committee in this country needs to improve such a way that the athletes that need sponsorship and gears to move forward in the sports, and I feel they should have more scholarship given out to the athletes of Guyana to push yourself to go to the high level. And if you, well, games coming up and so on, well, I'm telling you, we like to have a lot of sponsorship to go to those games in Trinidad, which is there in May.
But how do you think it could benefit young people now, the sports development?
Well, sport development could benefit a lot of young people in ways such as they going forward and meeting the games in the Olympics. It could benefit them, yes, but they have to be pushing it.
A fellow athlete myself, well, I don't think that enough is being done for athletes in Guyana because there's not enough of sponsorship in this country right now. And when it comes to sports, and especially athletics, there's not enough being done for our athletes here. There's not enough motivation to push. I know there's a lot of athletes out there that could run, but in Guyana there's no motivation here. So I think that if the AAG themselves can come together and put together something really that will make young people want to run and be a part of sports in Guyana, I think that Guyana will go very, very far away in athletics because we have a lot of talented athletes here in Guyana and we can do it. We can do it. So we just need that push.
And looking at it from a youth development perspective, how does it benefit young people?
Sports keeps me in shape and away from doing a lot of bad things because I have a really great coach, and on afternoons I normally come from work and I normally run in the afternoons. It's really good. We have a lot of young people that want to join, but there's not the sponsorship, like I said before, to help the athletes go forward in athletics. So we just need the sponsorship from people around the country and the Caribbean, and also from the AAG themselves, to help motivate the athletes. Do something that will make athletics fun.
And there you had it. Persons are quite interested in the further development of sports in Guyana. Now, let's go back into the room and let's hear what our viewers have to say. So, back over to you, Cleon and Tom.
Right, there you had our Man in the Street segment, and we do apologize for that bit of a mix-up. But that was Delon doing our Man in the Street segment, and you heard the views of those in the streets as they spoke about the development of the importance of the development of sport and also the benefits of sport development to young people. So now I have a sports enthusiast in studio with me today, and we're going to discuss, and he's also a sportsman. He was a national cricketer as well. So we're going to discuss a bit about sports development and how sports can aid in the development of our young people. But before we go into that discussion with Royston, we're going to talk a bit about what he is doing. So good afternoon, Royston.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so the viewers, I know they would want to know who's Royston, where did Royston came from. So we're just going to ask you to share briefly a bit about yourself, what you do, and what has brought you to where you are now.
All right, briefly you said, right?
Briefly, yes.
Well, Royston is a 25-year-old final year international relations student, like you would have said, former national youth cricketer. I'm into youth development. I love serving my community, so volunteerism is a big part of what I do. Last year I was one of the youth ambassadors to the United States on the youth exchange program with World Learning, part of Come Alive Network, and so on. A lot of the other organizations, of course, the exercise that looks at sports development. So that's primarily in a nutshell who is Royston, what I do, and so on.
Okay, so you said that you're interested in youth development.
Yeah.
What fostered this interest? Like, why is it that you feel a need to be a part of youth development?
Well, actually, growing up, it wasn't really a big part of what I do. But I had the experience to volunteer about 4 or 5 years ago at Agape Network. I subsequently started working for them, and then I actually fell in really nicely. And when I look at international relations, what I'm studying at the university, it gave me the opportunity as well to work with some international organizations. So my passion and everything, it sort of went, yeah, it sort of came into its own. And then of course I had the opportunity to partner with Ryan Hoppy to work at the Come Alive Network, which again focuses on youth development. So from time to time, I had a lot of experiences with workshops and so on, and I fell in love with,
So it became easy to match youth development with sports development.
Yeah.
All right. So tell us a bit about the exercise.
All right. The exercise, I'm surprised you didn't ask how we came up with the name.
I'll get to that.
All right, so the exercise is really a sports development initiative. Some friends and I, we said, we don't like where sports is in Guyana. We've had some success over the years with cricket. We're the back-to-back champions at the PCL 4-day tournament. The under-19s did well. The under-15s won the tournament as well. We did well in rugby. And we're progressing nicely in terms of how we are, doing with football in the region. So we said, you know what, let's start an initiative. Let's get something going that focuses on building athletes on and off the field. When you look around, there's not much being done in terms of grooming and building athletes off the field, in terms of how they approach questions, how they talk to the media. When you look at representing Guyana, sports diplomacy, sports tourism, and all these things. So we really wanted to foster a program or start a program that looks specifically at those areas off the field. And of course, once you build somebody in a classroom, you give them all the tools when they go on the field, they should be better or rounded individuals.
And then the follow-up question would be, why the exercise? Why the name?
Well, we're actually battling with the name, and when exercise is the most common thing in sports. So yes, so we dropped the E and just call it the exercise.
Okay. All right. So how does the exercise? I know you said you try to assist young people on and off the field. But in terms of programming, what do you do when you sit to have a discussion or a meeting or a class session with the young people, with the sports personalities?
All right. So working over the years in community development and youth development, we have gained a lot of skills, a lot of techniques. All we had to do was translate that to athletes, because athletes really a lot is not being done with them off the field. I'm a really big fan of Australia. West Indies is my team, but I love Australia not because of their dominance and so on, but they have a really structured program in Australia when it comes to sports development. I've been looking at some of the modules, and it's really similar to youth development. You just need to get to these athletes, talk to them, simple stuff like how you answer a question. When the media approaches you, what you say, how to dodge a question. Somebody may ask you. Look at, I believe it was Stephanie Taylor. When the West Indies won the World Cup, the guy asked about, what is the situation with the WICB? And she answered him without answering him. She said, well, and she went around and she went around and she went around. And this day and age, you don't want to get yourself in hot water if you're not supposed to answer a particular question. So, we want to look at techniques like those when you talk about managing athletes. Eventually, sports is going to take off locally here in Guyana. So we want to start programs where we get to manage athletes. I know a lot of athletes are apprehensive because they're saying, 5% of your match fee and all these things. We're not asking for any money, mind you, but we really want to start that culture. The culture has to start somewhere. You can't depend on government to bring something that the private sector is supposed to bring. So we want to start that. It's big in Trinidad. We call them sports agents, Jamaica, Barbados. So that's why not start it here in Guyana.
You mentioned a lot of things, but there's one particular one that you didn't mention, which is discipline.
Discipline, of course.
So does the exercise also deal with discipline, and how it's something that we have grown accustomed to, being in discipline. Sports and indiscipline sort of seem to come together, especially in Guyana. How have you spoken to the athletes about discipline, and how do they respond to that?
Interestingly, when I went to Pastor, for him to bless this and release it and whatnot, I said, so we're going to be focusing on how athletes speak, the economics, managing them. He said, Royston, interestingly, the same question you asked. You're telling me nothing about discipline. So we are going to be working with athletes. Last April 6th was the International Day of Sports for the Development of Peace. And we had a little session with some under 19 and under 15 cricketers. And of course, discipline came out. We had a session that dealt with team dynamics, and discipline, it was captured in that session. Of course, it's not that we're going to not look at the older guys, but we really want to talk to the under 15s, the under 17s. And of course, discipline is a big part of that. Not just discipline in terms of how they train, but what they eat, what they say, and everything else. Discipline across the board.
Okay. So how is the public response like to the exercise?
Well, we have our Facebook page, we have Twitter, we don't have Instagram. The feedback, the response has been good because it's new in Guyana. It's a really new initiative. We don't know of any organization that's really, or company that's really focusing on sports development in that regard. So it's been going good. Persons been inboxing, willing to give ideas, willing to give tips. Some persons want to come to volunteer. Of course, we can't take everybody.
Yeah.
But it's been good. It's been good.
And what would you say are some of the challenges that you have faced or you're faced with thus far in relation to doing what you set out to do?
One of the major challenges, some of the federations and the sporting fraternities, the bodies, it's sad that they don't see the importance in this. I'm not going to call name or name any of the associations, no, but we sent out a few letters indicating, this is the program, this is what we want to do. We don't want any money from you, we just want you to make your athletes available to us. The response from some of the sporting bodies wasn't favorable, but we're still going to go behind them. It's all part of change. We're still going to attack them, go after them, get the president, the vice president, the secretary to buy into this. I must say, thanks to the Guyana Cricket Board, because we worked with them, the Georgetown Volleyball Association as well. They would have been receptive, and they understand the importance of something like this, and they made it at least available for us.
Yeah.
Let me see if you're gonna dodge the question. Or you're gonna be frank. I'm just interested to know, when it is that you got a negative response from the organizations, was it just a no, or was it a no, we don't think it's important? No, what was the response?
We didn't get a response.
You didn't get a response. Okay.
We sent emails, we called. Persons like, yeah, we got the email, we got the letter, but then there was no feedback.
And I think that in some cases that's worse than getting a no.
Yeah, that's
because that really says you're not interested.
Yeah.
But I think it's a great initiative, and I always say young people can connect to young people very easily. And it's good that it's young people who are setting out to do the whole development works with young people who are involved in sport. But the question I'd like to ask, if someone would like, I know you keep saying that when you do stuff, you're not asking for money or so to do it, but if someone wants to donate or so on, what are some of the things you're looking for? Is it just finances, or getting into sports development? Would you welcome sporting gears and that kind of thing that you can donate to young people?
We want to tolerate any donation. I mean, if you want to donate bats, ball, if you want to donate the finances, because of course we'll need monies to do sessions in a conference room or something. So we're not going to discriminate against any any mode of donation. So arms open, we're going to accept.
Right, and how can people reach you?
Well, our Facebook page, The Exercise, there's all our information is there, our email, phone numbers, and so on. So they can just go on The Exercise. We're on Twitter as well, and the information is out there.
Have you tried to make contact with the sports director to see if you would be able to get into these organizations through his office?
We sent a letter to we sent a letter to them. We're still to settle on a date for us to meet, because we don't want to go about talking about sports development and not, include the sports commission. So that date is not set as yet, but we hope to finalize that soon, so that we could work in unison. We want to know what is their approach, what are their goals, and if you could line up with some of their goals or assist them in meeting some of those goals, it will be benefit to both organizations.
Okay.
You said something interesting at the beginning that I wanted to tap into, and this is to help young people who may be watching the program. Is that when I asked you about how it is that you got involved in your development and that became a passion.
Yeah.
It's not something that, when you were small, it's like, I want to be in your development.
Yeah.
But after experiencing in different organizations and going through different things, that you recognize that is where your passion lies.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of young people should recognize that as well. You don't just know at 9, because when you're 2, 3, Where if you're a boy, you normally want to be a garbage truck collector or something
Police.
because it's,
Fireman.
or a fireman
Police,
because of the
yeah.
trucks and all of those things, right? But as you get older, because of your experiences, you then realize, or you come into what it is that you're passionate about. It's not something that you know when you're 12 and 13. Some may know, some may not. So don't beat yourself over the head if you're not sure.
Yeah.
But just, you know, go forward, make the strides. You go finish your education, you go to university, and as you get involved in different activities, then you would be able to say or see, or, you know, what it is you actually want to do, or what is your purpose, right, as you grow.
Yeah. So in moving forward, what are some of the plans that you have, the organization have moving forward in aid of helping to develop sports? And I'm asking this because I know persons are listening and somebody might be touched and they might want to donate. So I'm giving them the opportunity to hear some of what is happening. So in case they want to donate to a specific event or activity, they can do so. So just share with us.
All right. For the short term, we really want to work with each association.
Okay.
Because I was a national cricketer, I obviously have a bias towards cricket. But we want to touch the different associations: the Sports Association, Basketball Association, Federation rather, the Football Federation, Rugby. So every month we want to tackle an association and work with them. Moving forward as well, we really want to get into. We have this idea of starting GAVA. Is the Guyana Athletics Volunteer Association, where we get athletes to come on board to volunteer with us, and that is a way of building capacity for them as well. They would foster an appreciation for nation, and hopefully it helps them to do better on the field. So GAVA is a big part of what we want to do. We want to get the Christopher Barnwells on board, the Cleveland Fours, the Akeem Kanais, all athletes from across the board to come join us, volunteer some activities, and hopefully, I mean, they have an appreciation for it.
All right, viewers at home, there you have it. This is our interview with Royston Alkins, who is a member, I think the founder as well, one of the founders and leaders of the exercise. It is an organization geared towards aiding in the development of sport personalities in Guyana. And you've heard a bit about the organization, some of their plans, and if you want to partner with Royston and the exercise in any way, you can check their Facebook page, the exercise. All the contact information is there, or you can reach out to us here on the show and we can make that contact with Royston on your behalf. We're going to continue our discussion along the lines of sport, and Royston is going to stay with us. So we're going to talk now, and this is where you, the viewers, also have the opportunity to call, text, and to weigh in on the conversation that we're having. So I'm going to ask the operator to put the telephone number on screen so that you can gear yourself up to get involved in the discussion. Today we're discussing the development of sport in Guyana. And how is it that the development of sport can aid in youth development? The first question I have for you viewers: do you think that enough is being done to develop sports for the sport development in Guyana? And then you can share some of the benefits that you believe we can get from sport development for our young people. And that's the same question I want to throw at you, Royston, and knowing that you're working with the exercise. Do you believe that enough is being done to develop sports in Guyana currently?
Well, when you look at structure, when you look at policies, there aren't comprehensive policies in place to develop sports in Guyana. I don't know what, I know we have a new set of commissioners at the National Sports Commission. I don't know what are some of the plans. Hopefully they can come out and tell us what they have on board. And sports development, I often say, is not only the onus of government. Private sector, they really have to play a major role in it. This is 2016 and we don't have enough sports leagues in Guyana. Of course, the associations, they need to approach the private sector, the business community, and say, you know what, come on board. We want to have a 5-month, a 6-month league. It's not about playing a 2-week tournament. That's not going to benefit anyone. So I strongly believe that government, they need to approach the private sector, the associations rather. Government, they need to create that enabling environment. I don't know if in the form of tax exemptions or whatever the case may be, but we need more leagues in Guyana. That is one of the easiest way to develop sport in any country, sports in any country. Leagues, we need leagues.
I know one of the young men on the Man in the Street video was saying something similar, because he was saying he's a football player and he plays competitive football once or twice a year. That's the tournament. And after that, he has nothing to do. And he was saying that he really think that more should be done so that they can have more competition, more leagues on a national level. So I agree with you on that. But one of the other things that I think we also should look at is facilities. Do we have adequate facility to also cater to the development of sport in Guyana? And I think that is another issue why we have why our athletes are not, well, I can't say many of them are not on par, because providing the circumstances under which we train, I believe we have excellent athletes here in Guyana. For us to have one of the top long distance runner in Cleveland Ford in the Caribbean, and he running on road and grass, and then he got to go and put that on a track, which is totally a different environment. It tells a lot about the athletes that we have here. So do you feel that there is need for more facilities to cater across the board, not just cricket and football, but also the implementation of new sports, sporting activities?
Definitely. Excuse me. Facilities, obviously, when you're talking about development of sports, you can't leave it out of the conversation. I was walking through the university at the back about 2 weeks ago, and I said to myself, look at this land just being wasted. I mean, we could easily get a synthetic track at the back there, an indoor facility for volleyball, squash, even a pool. And those are simply initiatives, I believe, that the university don't have to undertake them. Get the private sector involved. I really don't know. When you look at facilities, I was doing some reading on Brazil and Jamaica. You don't have to get a $20 million indoor facility to do these things, you know. Simple facilities. You put them up, get young people involved in the sport, because that is motivation for them. Running on a track in this day and age, grass, it's not ideal. Because I was reading an article the other day when some young persons were running on the Lenora track barefooted. I mean, they're not accustomed to it. So facilities prepare you for sports on a professional level. Because you're going to go to Trinidad, you're going to go to Jamaica representing your country barefooted. Or if you get the opportunity to own a spike, you don't know how to run in a spike. And that's another issue. So I definitely believe that facilities are a major part of developing this sports.
Okay, so now I'm from the private sector, and I'm hearing you basically call out the private sector to, assist in development. And I would then say to you, well, I don't really see a lot of these sports personalities doing well when they go there. Why should I invest in something that I don't see right now any real returns in? How would you respond to that?
Well, you answer the question. At least when they go, they're not doing well. So there is a need for you to come and develop the sport. You understand me? But I think we have good stocks here in Guyana, man. Considering that we don't have leagues and we still go out and we still compete, because when you look at Barbados again, Barbados play a lot of rugby, but still Guyana will trash them. Trinidad, the same thing. I mean, they have the oil and so on, they could invest. But private sector, they really need to come on board. Government need to create that environment for them to come on board, and the associations need to stop being corrupt. So to manage the monies and let it go back into sports.
I'm glad you mentioned rugby, because rugby is one of the team, especially the mid team, is like one of the most consistent winners. When they go out there to play go in the region and even further afield. But somehow we Guyanese probably don't recognize that they're doing well, and they do well often. And I just shout out to the rugby team for that, right? That in their own space they're still flying that flag for us, even though they don't get appreciation when